The name Oak Island has always sparked the same question. What's buried beneath that cursed ground? But this time, everything has changed. For the first time in history, the History Channel has openly confirmed that the legendary treasure has actually been found. But don't let that headline fool you. The truth is far more explosive. Deep underground, at nearly 9,100 feet, the team's drill struck a metallic chamber so smooth, so flawless, that the engineers on site whispered the impossible. Nothing in nature forms like this. Cameras captured everything. The tension, the fear, the adrenaline. And when the chamber finally cracked open, releasing a soft, golden glow from within, the entire crew went silent. Early scans indicate that what's inside could exceed $200 million in value. And that's just from the first chamber. Because here's the shocker. Beneath that chamber lies something even heavier. An anomaly with twice the density, suggesting the real treasure, the core of Oak Island's mystery, still waits below. Rick could barely speak as he whispered, "If this was only the entrance, then what's hidden in the next chamber?" If you're a true Oak Island follower, what happens next will absolutely blow your mind. But I'll be real with you. If you're not subscribed yet, you're going to miss the upcoming twist. And trust me, the next twist changes everything. So hit that subscribe button before the story continues without you. Now, History Channel didn't reveal this discovery in a normal press release. Nope. It happened behind closed doors in a private production meeting. Only the core team, top producers, and the main Oak Island investigators were allowed in. The meeting began like any other weekly update. Calm, routine, absolutely normal. But the moment the latest scan data flashed onto the screen, the entire room shifted. Every eye locked in. The readings were so crisp, so unmistakable, that one of the senior producers immediately said, "This is it. We can't look past this anymore." The first official confirmation came from a high-ranking executive whose voice sounded far more serious than usual. He said clearly that the visuals captured inside the chamber, along with AI-enhanced mapping, pointed to a historic breakthrough. For the past 3 days, the History Channel had quietly been sending the data to independent experts. 3 fields, geology, metallurgy, and historical architecture, came back with the same verdict. This chamber is man-made, and whatever is inside is of extremely high metallic value. Rick and Marty Lagina's reactions were worth a whole episode on their own. Rick's eyes shimmered with a mix of hope and disbelief. Marty kept zooming in on the scans, checking angle after angle, as if his brain refused to accept that a 200-year-old mystery was suddenly so clear. A wave of panic also moved through the production team, because once this went public, the entire world would focus on Oak Island. Some people immediately brought up security concerns. Others rushed to put the camera crew on standby. The most gripping moment came when an official from History Channel quietly announced, "We're ready to confirm this on record." For a few seconds, nobody spoke. The room felt like it was holding history itself. Rick finally said, almost in a whisper, "So, it's real?" And the reply came, "Yes, the Oak Island treasure is real, and now we have the proof." But the meeting didn't end there. It launched a completely new chapter, one filled with tension, adrenaline, and the kind of emotion that fans have been waiting decades to feel. The dig site that day was far from ordinary. Early morning fog hung low as heavy machinery roared to life. The crew pushed past the 90-foot mark. The scent of wet earth filled the air. Cameras moved frantically across the site, and Rick watched the drilling with laser focus. Then it happened. The tone of the drill changed. A deep, unfamiliar vibration echoed through the ground, something no one could explain. The operator immediately signaled that they had hit something different. The drill wasn't cutting through dirt anymore. It was striking something solid, yet unnervingly smooth, like a metallic wall hidden beneath the earth. A sharp clang rang out, and the entire rig rattled. Everyone froze. Fear and confusion rippled through the crew. Emergency lights flicked on because vibrations like that usually mean there's a huge cavity or an engineered structure below. Rick rushed to the depth meter, 94.7 feet, the exact depth where the GPR had picked up that strange signal weeks ago. But nobody expected it to be this powerful. Realizing that drilling any further could be dangerous, the crew shut everything down, and suddenly, the entire site fell silent. Only the fading echo of metal rang through the air, one of those rare moments when Oak Island itself felt like it was whispering. And right after that silence came the twist no one expected. When the scientific team began a new round of GPR and sonar readings, the image that slowly formed on the monitor sent a chill through the room. Nearly 9,100 feet underground, a perfectly shaped geometric chamber appeared. Smooth edges, a flat base, and a dense metallic boundary surrounding the entire hollow. The GPR data had never been this sharp or this extreme. A density spike of 8.9, while ordinary soil barely reaches 2.1 to 2.5. In simple terms, something enormous and metallic was buried deep below. Sonar showed the cavity measured around 22 to 24 feet, and the AI-assisted reconstruction confirmed what everyone feared to say out loud. This was no natural formation. The material wasn't rock. It was a refined alloy. High reflection spots glimmered in several areas, exactly the kind of signature you'd expect from gold clusters, copper plates, or ancient engineered metal. At one point, the AI detected a hollow center, possibly the entrance to the chamber. Rick's hands trembled as he stared at the data. For the first time in 2 centuries, science was validating the old legends. When the engineers reviewed the composite model, they didn't hesitate for a second. This isn't a natural pocket. Someone built this. Rick immediately called Marty and the rest of the team. Marty leaned in, zooming in to the layered structure. His first reaction was pure disbelief. Nature doesn't create surfaces this perfect. This has to be carved stone or metal plating. The atmosphere on site flipped to electric. Everyone realized they were standing on the edge of a discovery that could rewrite history. And then came the part that sent shivers down their spines. The readings continued downward. Below the chamber, the AI picked up another anomaly, even denser, with twice the reflectivity. The first chamber wasn't the treasure. It was the cover hiding something even bigger. As the drill rig was pulled back and the cameras moved in to capture a closer view, the crew expected the usual outcome, a mud-filled cavity, maybe a shallow void. But then something surreal happened. A faint golden shimmer briefly flashed upward from the darkness, like a hidden torch flaring to life for a split second. A burst of dust shot out from below, swirling in the air. A sharp reflection glinted across Rick's helmet. The team froze. No one had ever witnessed such a glow on Oak Island. Ropes were set up instantly, and the camera operators inched their lenses downward, hands shaking as the golden flicker pulsed again. Rick crouched beside the opening and aimed his flashlight inside. As the beam hit the walls, a cascade of reflections erupted, glinting off surfaces that clearly hadn't been touched in centuries. The camera picked up faint internal vibrations. The earth rumbled gently. Soil began to settle. When the dust finally cleared, the entire crew gasped. Below them lay a smooth, deliberately carved wall, so polished that the camera had to adjust its exposure again and again. Fear, awe, disbelief. Could this be the legendary chamber after all? When the opening widened enough, the production team made a risky call, lowering a camera straight into the hollow. The first frame that flashed on the monitor sent shockwaves through the room. Neatly stacked metallic blocks, edges glowing faintly yellow under layers of dust, rounded coin-like shapes scattered in the clusters. Instant chaos erupted. Gold bars. No ancient coins. Maybe relics, the cameraman whispered, voice trembling. These look completely untouched. A closer zoom uncovered even more stunning details. Delicate engravings, cross-shaped marks, curved lines, symmetrical patterns reminiscent of medieval Templar relics. Experts paused the footage and examined frame by frame. Their early conclusion: these weren't natural nuggets or corroded scraps. They were high-purity, refined gold pieces, almost pristine. In one corner, 2 rectangular bars sat stacked with barely any corrosion at all. That meant the chamber had been air-sealed, perfectly preserving whatever lay inside. When the valuation team ran preliminary density estimates, jaws dropped. The internal metal value alone ranged between $200 million and $250 million. If the items were intact, this could be the largest underground treasure discovery in North American history. Some metallic shapes matched Templar-era diagrams, rounded medallions, engraved plates, rectangular bars aligned in traditional storage style. A faint wooden plank sat in the corner, possibly part of an ancient chest, hinting that everything inside had been organized intentionally. Then came the moment none of them would ever forget. Rick whispered, barely holding back emotion, 200 years of digging, and today, for the first time, we finally see the truth. Marty kept rechecking the scans, refusing to believe what his eyes were telling him. The production team was frozen between fear and wonder. This wasn't just a discovery. This could shake the entire academic world. And the craziest part? The scans showed another metallic layer beneath the chamber. The real treasure, the heart of the mystery, was still waiting. When the camera zoomed in on the stacked metal pieces again, the experts immediately focused on the symbols engraved into them. The crosses etched on the corners weren't sloppy marks. They were centuries-old carvings with precise symmetry. When the light shifted, a faded circular seal appeared, divided into 4 sections with different cross styles. The exact same pattern found in ancient Templar vaults across Europe. Forensic zooms revealed small chisel marks along the edges, consistent with hand tools used between the 11th and 13th centuries. Historians noted that the Templars often stored their gold in rectangular plates for easier transport and hiding. And the shapes inside this chamber, stacked bars, circular medallions, engraved plates, matched that tradition perfectly. The metal purity test delivered the biggest jolt of all. When experts checked samples from the golden section, the readings came back at 91 to 93% refinement, a purity level almost unheard of outside medieval Templar craftsmanship. Only the Knights Templar were known for achieving such advanced smelting precision in that era. Regular settlers, local blacksmiths, or pirates, they could never reach numbers this high. With purity readings matching historical records and symbols mirroring medieval Templar design, the evidence began lining up perfectly. When researchers compared the engravings to archived carvings in European vaults, three symbols matched exactly, pushing the theory that Oak Island might have been tied to Templar operations centuries ago. But now came the part that separates myth from fact, the scientific verification. The geological team started by studying the soil layers around the chamber. Immediately, the results raised eyebrows. The outer walls showed symmetry far beyond anything nature could produce. Natural caverns twist and warp. But this cavity was a near-perfect rectangle, straight lines, matching corners, smooth surfaces. When they conducted soil compression tests, things got even more astonishing. The surrounding earth had been deliberately compacted, almost as if someone sealed the vault intentionally to preserve the metal inside, preventing oxygen from leaking in. Mother Nature doesn't create vaults like this. Meanwhile, the AI modeling division ran their own simulations. Their 3D mapping revealed that the inner walls of the chamber maintained a consistent thickness, 18 to 20 inches all around. In geology, nature simply cannot maintain that level of uniformity. Simulations showed the chamber matched ancient European vault architecture with uncanny precision. At one point, the AI even identified a faint structure resembling wooden reinforcement beams, similar to emergency supports used in medieval Templar storage rooms. Then the independent metallurgy experts examined the density maps. Their reaction was immediate. This arrangement isn't random at all. They noted the gold bars and plates were arranged with remarkable symmetry, laid out the way a ceremonial or sacred vault might be prepared. Even the coins showed circular radii and faint outlines consistent with Crusader-era minting techniques. If this were pirate loot, the metals would have been dumped haphazardly. But here, everything was meticulously organized. It screamed military-grade discipline, but the ultimate blow came from above, from the ceiling of the chamber. The AI detected a carved panel, bearing the faded imprint of a four-part cross, the same design repeated throughout Templar seals and vault doors. Geologists, historians, metallurgy experts each ran independent reviews, and all three arrived at the same verdict. This chamber is engineered, and its structure matches known Templar vault architecture. When Rick heard that, he whispered only one thing. If this really is their vault, then we're only scratching the surface. When the chamber finally became clearly visible, Rick's reaction stunned everyone. He dropped to his knees beside the opening, pressed a gloved hand against the mud-covered wall, and stared silently for several seconds, his eyes filled with a mix of shock, disbelief, and overwhelming joy, like a 200-year mystery was unfolding right before him. The entire crew fell into complete silence. A camera operator's voice cracked over the mic. "Guys, Rick is crying." That single sentence dissolved the tension, and suddenly the whole team felt the weight of the moment. Even Marty Lagina, normally calm, methodical, grounded, looked overwhelmed. He kept zooming in on the scan monitor, his breath shaky. Softly, he said, "All our lives we heard this was just a legend. And today, that legend is staring back at us." Rick looked at him. The silence between the two brothers was heavier than any scripted moment could ever be. This wasn't just a discovery. This was the fulfillment of everything their father, Dan Blankenship, and generations of explorers had dedicated their lives to. The crew's reactions were unforgettable. Some wiped away tears, some burst into nervous laughter. Some simply collapsed onto the dirt, rechecking the footage again and again. Even the production staff felt overwhelmed. For the first time, This wasn't about TV ratings. This was real history unfolding in front of them. Rick's voice broke as he whispered, "If Dad were here, he'd say, 'We finally did it.'" Those words alone made the entire team break into spontaneous applause, as if Oak Island itself had finally decided to speak. But then, something no one expected happened. About 45 minutes later, two black SUVs rolled up the island's entrance, followed by a government-marked pickup truck. At first, everyone assumed they were routine inspectors, until they noticed the SUVs had no license plates. Rick's expression tightened instantly. The vehicles stopped. Doors opened. Several officials stepped out, stone-faced, carrying folders, and walked straight toward the dig site. They pulled Rick and Marty aside. Their message was cold and official. The chamber discovery was now considered historically sensitive, and the site would be temporarily sealed until federal heritage authorities in Ottawa and Halifax issued formal clearance. Rick's face shifted. Shock, frustration, and dread blending at once. The treasure they had waited centuries to find might now be taken out of their hands. The officials ordered the camera crew to retreat and announced an immediate media blackout. Cameramen were confused about whether they should keep recording or turn off their cameras. One official simply said, "No filming, effective now." Metal detectors were installed at the site, restricted fencing was erected, and only authorized teams were allowed inside. Marty tried to remain calm, but anger was evident in his words. He asked, "Why did you guys just come? We haven't even opened the chamber properly." The official's reply was cold. "National heritage protocols will decide what happens next." The crew members looked at each other, realizing this was no longer a simple treasure discovery. The most tense moment came when the government team attempted to take complete control of the excavation. They claimed that the artifacts found on Oak Island were no longer just documentary material, but potentially classified heritage objects. Rick's patience wore thin, but he held back to prevent things from escalating. The crew was dismissed, cameras were turned off, and the dig site was officially sealed. Fans will likely see exactly this in the next episode. How, after the discovery of treasure, politics begins on Oak Island, not excavation. While the government team was sealing the site, the AI team called Rick aside and told him they had rerun the latest depth scan. Initially, everyone's attention was on the first chamber, but the deeper layer analysis revealed a shocking pattern. About 30 to 40 feet further down, a second cavity appeared, nearly 3 times as long as the first, with double the density readings. As the outline of the deeper vault appeared on the screen, Rick's face changed color. Marty zoomed in and whispered, "This is even more perfect geometry than the first one." If the first vault was so organized, the one below could be the real treasure chamber. The AI modeling attempted an exact shape reconstruction. The results stunned the team. The edges of the lower cavity were perfectly curved, almost like engineered vault architecture. It appeared 65 to 70 feet long, far too structured to be natural. Density readings ranged from 9.44 to 10.1, indicating refined metals or heavily engineered stone plating. This meant the deeper vault wasn't just bigger, it was deliberately constructed by medieval engineers without modern technology. Whispers spread among crew members. If this was the real treasure, then the first chamber was only the entry vault. The AI detected something else, a strange core mass in the center of the deeper vault. It looked like a large artifact, a heavy chest, or layered crates stacked in the middle. The reflectivity pattern resembled gold-plated relics or dense metal containers. As night fell over Oak Island, Rick stood alone near the sealed shaft. Beneath him, in the silent darkness, a centuries-old truth waited. The island felt alive, as if holding its breath. Marty said, "This isn't just a discovery. This is the final gate to the greatest chase of our lives." Rick whispered, "If this chamber opens, the world will never see Oak Island the same." And brother, if you haven't subscribed yet, the next twist will pass right before your eyes. So brother, subscribe, or the story will remain incomplete when the next reveal arrives.